Welcome to the Market Smarter, Sell More podcast. I'm your host, Andy Barnett, joined as always by the director of directing, the man who puts Hayes in Hayes Group, Mr. Adam Hayes.
What's up, Mr. Barnett?
How we doing?
Good.
You like how I put Mr. in front of me?
I mean, Mr., whatever you want to say.
That sir, like authoritarianism. Yeah, you can say whatever.
That's totally in my style.
You can call me whatever, but sir is good.
Yeah, you can call me whatever.
Yeah, that's your style for sure.
What was the title we came up with a few episodes ago? It was director of
directoring. Yes, director of directoring.
I think that's the new title.
That's a good one. Yeah. You need to get that on your business cards next. That's great. All right, I got a question I've been thinking about. Let's talk about logos. How important, obviously, vary, and how often should they be redone, or everything involved with a logo for a company? Selection of it. I've seen bad ones. I know you've seen way worse ones.
This is a horrible subject.
I know it is.
I'll tell you why.
Clearly, we'll stay away from names.
Yeah.
But logo is clearly very important. What should be involved in the selection process of coming up with a good logo for a company?
Most logos are awful. And the reason is because you have groupthink inside of an organization, and they are appeasing the person with the most control. And instead of thinking about it from the aspect of what will be appealing to my customer and my clientele,
they're thinking about what they're
appeasing the 12 people in the room, and the person with the most power in that room.
Most importantly, you know, this one was designed by the CEO's
their favorite color
granddaughter.
Might be pink, and their audience hates pink.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden you introduce it to the marketplace, and it's a complete flop.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that's definitely a consideration. The most important thing when developing a logo is thinking about the expression of the emotional attachment you want to create to that brand, and specifically addressing the audience that you're trying to attract, and not trying to satisfy your internal audience so much as the external audience. And usually that process is reversed, which is why most logos really stick.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
which makes sense that that you always want to inherently design something that you like.
Yeah,
but
we'll get on Upwork and we'll do it for $5. Somebody somebody can do it for $5, and what ends up happening is it might be a fancy and nice looking logo, but it really does nothing to motivate your audience, and it doesn't do anything to move them anywhere emotionally.
So speaking of that, then what are the things that people should think about when looking to design that logo for their particular audience? What things should they take into account? Say I'm a lawn care company, it's probably going to have some sort of aspect of green in it.
Yes.
And that's as far as I go.
I think the most, there's several criteria. One is what is completely unique to you and your organization, and how do you express that in your logo, and balance the expression of that with what the needs of your customer are. And I think if you can do that, and it's not easily done, it's easily said, if you can do that, you've got a winner, right?
What's the best logo you ever seen? Amazon, or I like those ones with the hidden stuff in them.
I mean, there's lots with different Easter eggs in them.
Yeah.
I'd say the most memorable one is Nike, right? For me, that's the most memorable one. I like our logo, but I'm
Nike.
Attached to our logo. I like our logo.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Well, what went into the thought process of our logo?
A lot.
I just woke up one morning, thought it looked cool, and
it's pretty simple, really. So I am a fire sign. I was born under a fire sign. I'm an Aries, so a lot of the thought process was like, okay, born out of fire. What happens? You put a lot of fire, it creates a lot of change, creates a lot of energy, right, and it gets stuff in motion. And a lot of times when people come to us, they need a catalyst, and they need a catalyst to come in, shake things up, and really create predictable revenue. And so, doing that through, the process of fire, getting a fire started, making things hot, making them warm, getting things going.
Yeah.
Right. So that was it, the expression of the two flames, coming together in the middle. Right. So,
yeah. Well done on that aspect. We've got some of our new merch here available for nobody right now on our website. It's not available, but feel free to check out our website on which ties right into us being LinkedIn's #1 podcast.
I want you to say the whole thing again. Come on, you got it in you.
Yeah, well, why don't I start over with that? That we are LinkedIn's #1 podcast in the North Indianapolis, South Fishers area amongst males 48 to 49 that view it within the hours of 10 to 11
on Friday.
On Fridays. Yes, there you go. I left one part of it out.
Right?
Yeah, I think I might have added a new part there too, but hey.
We're getting the plaque printed up.
Exactly.
It's got to be official.
And don't research it.
Yeah.
So there's that too. So, all right. We will be back after this with our guest. Hang around. If you've ever damaged your tires driving over a pothole or gotten into a fender bender because of a poorly paved parking lot, then you know the importance of high quality pavement. Hasco Inc., located in Lebanon, Indiana, is here to make sure all your driving and parking experiences throughout central Indiana go as smoothly as possible. Their asphalt contractor services cover everything from crack filling to repaving, so you can trust Hasco to provide a solution to any pavement problem. Don't let a rundown parking lot drive customers away. Take care of those pesky potholes and turn to a proven and trusted asphalt and concrete contractor. Turn to Hasco. Welcome back to the Market Smarter, Sell More podcast. We're now joined by our guest, the owner of Metric IT, Mr. Mike Semon. Mike, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Why don't you get us started here? Tell us a little bit about what you do, how it came about. Just give us your story.
Sure. It starts way back in the late 90s, coming out of college at Purdue and the engineering curriculum. And IT was really a mystery back then, but it was very, very hot. You're all familiar with the .com bubble.
Oh, yeah.
And I was able to get a job with a local consulting firm. And the computers were my passion, even as a child. But there wasn't really curriculum. I mean, back then, if you wanted to get into this type of profession, you were at the bookstore, Barnes and Nobles, Borders. This is before Amazon. And you were in those stacks at night reading all the content so you could try to put these systems in that everybody, wanted back then.
Sure.
And back then it was making standalone PCs talk to each other. Then they could share files. Then they could print. Right. And you might even have an accounting application or something.
Yeah.
But that was the origins of how this got started.
Okay. Cool. And then what led you to starting your own company?
Hindsight's always 20/20, but I think it also gives you some vision as to what really happened. It's really because I came from a family that had small business. And it was really something in the beginning to satisfy my sense of being in a ethnic Greek family that had restaurants and investments. And it goes all the way back to my great grandparents who immigrated over here.
Yeah, the entrepreneurship is it's in your blood.
What spawned the interest early on for you in computers and tech?
My father purchased us a Commodore 64 in the early 80s.
We had one too.
Was it for gaming? Was that what it was bought for?
That's what it was used for.
That's what I used mine for.
And so to give you if you go back into that time machine, you'd have the first storage device was a reel-to-reel tape, which you wouldn't even recognize these days, but most people remember some essence of a floppy disk. Well, you'd have your first computer game on the floppy disk on one side, but to maximize your investment on that floppy disk, you'd take a hole puncher and you'd clip the side of it, and then you made a double-sided disk. So then you could put the next computer game on the underside of it. So, and these utilities, fast hack 'em. That was the disk copy utility.
Was that your nickname? Fast hack 'em?
This is, thank God the software police wasn't as prolific as they are now, because back then it was really interesting. And this is before networks for the most part. So you were I was going over to my cousin Eric's house. He he had a box of floppies. Well,
Oh yeah.
we spent all afternoon hole punching them, and I went home with a whole new set of games.
Yeah.
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 But interesting you asked that. There was a publication called the Computer Gazette, and it was a publication that included programming. You literally could write programs. They had them and you had to, this is all data entry, but that really started, whetting the appetite for applications and things like that.
Was that basic? What program language was that espousing at the time?
It was basic.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember those days, the green screen days, and writing a whole thing, and then you output it, and you're like, wow, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, we had a Commodore 64 too, and I had this uncle who never really, this kind of a weird story, never really spoke at Christmas. So it was kind of a bit of a mystery. I didn't know the guy very much. And he knew that we had just got a Commodore 64, and I guess he was real, techie IT guy. And one year for Christmas, he gave us 50 games. So I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And first of all, why he's never given us anything, never spoke to us. I'm not sure he even knew our name. It was a large family, and 50 new games from this guy. So he was great, but I'm not sure he saw
I think he
today.
gets the award for fast hack 'em.
I know, yes. That was old fast hack. That's right. What do you wish you knew? Because you mentioned this earlier, hindsight's 2020. What do you wish you knew, now?
Or then that you don't.
Yeah.
You know what we're asking, right? So you started your business, you've obviously grown, and you've had some challenges along the way. If you could go back in time and tell yourself, at the time you were starting your business, here's some of the challenges and risk and things that you're going to assume, would take care of themselves. And now that you're through those storms, what do you wish you had known before you got into it?
I think as a small business owner, the thing that makes or breaks you is the people that you have around you, the team that you're building, the importance of culture.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah. And I think that I wish, and this is coming, you guys know me well enough. This might sound a bit ironic. I wish I had more confidence back in the very early beginnings. If I did, I would have been more aggressive in building a team faster. But frankly, you go back into the late 90s, you go back into the early 2000s, you say you're going to start a business. It's just you. It's starting out of your loft. You put $1,000 into the checking account.
Yeah.
And you're a business owner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, it always doesn't work out. Right. I mean, it does sometimes.
Yeah.
But I wish that I would have had the confidence in myself that it was going to work out. And because you could just have that much more. And I don't mean more as far as reward. I mean more as far as stability, fortification, all the things that everybody wants, just overall strength. But again, hindsight is 2020. And when you go back and put that type of burden on a 26-year-old man who, is married and you're starting families and, you've got other challenges. I mean, it's, you want to be happy with the fish that you catch, right?
Yeah.
We were successful.
Yeah.
Right. But if I were to do it over again, yeah, I mean, let's go.
Right.
But those challenges, some of them can be, overwhelming and ending. So there is probably some wisdom in playing things conservatively, which has served us well up until this point.
What are some of the risk and challenges that the industry is facing right now?
Well, I think some of the risk that you're dealing with is that there's so many things that are unknown to the average practitioner. So, for example, if we go back into that time machine, you started out with computers that needed to talk to each other, and it was buggy. I mean, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. you were calling Microsoft and they would send you floppy disks, right?
Right.
Then the internet came on, and then you could download stuff. But these vendors have constantly improved their products. But then there was a period of time where the networks stabilized and they were good as far as for a small business. But then the cloud came on, and I think the cloud has been a wonderful thing to bring
Yeah.
enterprise level applications to small businesses.
Mhm.
Before you'd have to work at a Fortune 500 company to have access to some of these things. I don't know if you remember, but as a kid, you always had to go to dad's office to get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's not the case anymore. I mean, you just
Mhm.
sign up for a subscription and you've got a piece of it. So
You've got mail.
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
Right. Well, I think that's a perfect segue into, why don't you tell us about Metric IT? What solutions do you provide? How do you, what's your lane?
Sure. Our lane is going to be helping small businesses here in Indianapolis, typically in the architects, engineering, and contracting communities, the AEC.
Okay.
And I think that originated basically out of me being a civil engineer from Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
We understand those businesses more so than any other business. And when you combine the fact that I believe that market is underserved,
Mm-hmm.
I think for whatever reason, I think it's underserved. But when you talk about things like, general contractors need to have estimating all under control
Mm-hmm.
and be able to be handled, project management, scheduling, job costing. I mean, there's elements of these businesses that need to be rock solid.
Right.
And if they're not, then inefficiency just creeps up so fast.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that your customers in the AEC space are really facing, and how are you helping solve those?
Yeah, I think some of them is automation, for sure, workflow, efficiency things. So, for example, if you're a general contractor, you have a workforce in an office. You've got your estimators, you've got your administrative people, you've got your project managers, but you're building buildings out in the field. So you really have two offices.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got a field office, which could be anywhere from 5 to 50 miles away, maybe even more. How do you integrate communication between those two things? Right. And then you layer on top of the fact that you have that distance, the whole cybersecurity thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How are you going to keep you need the communication, the application functions, the automation, but it also needs to be secure. So, and that's the next piece when you talk about the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not putting computers together anymore and making them talk. It's protecting them also.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's become a huge part of it, probably.
It's an augmented industry. We're not just, computer people anymore. We're security folks as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, having said that, then what do you see as the future? What's your goals for like this next year? How does the constant evolution so rapidly of technology, how does that change what you do? How do you see that impacting your business, say the next 12 months?
Well, I believe we're still, from an IT service provider standpoint, in a high tides industry. There's still the need and the demand, and I believe there's plenty of people that are underserved. They just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know what's out there. They don't even know what is possible, especially at the small business level.
Mm-hmm.
So, from an opportunity standpoint, I think that there's plenty of it, and there's a lot of people that could use the help. But like any small business, they need to learn about you, right? They've got to get access to and understand. So it's a matter of getting in front of those people. From an industry standpoint, though, that there's a lot of guys that started these businesses 30 years ago that are getting out. There's industry consolidation, like in any other industry. IT services, no less.
Yeah.
But I think that creates even more opportunity because In Central Indiana, I think culturally, people still want to work with people who are in Central Indiana.
Mhm.
I'm not so sure they're comfortable calling into a help desk that is,
Right.
somewhere else.
Uh-huh.
People want to know who they're working with. They want to work with, they're going to buy from people that they like and they trust.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's trending more in that direction, kind of backing in that direction towards, local. Who can I touch? Who can I see? With the authenticity of being able to be in the same room with them, or just kind of putting a face with a name and knowing that person's going to be the same person you're going to talk to, 6 months from now.
Yeah, and when you look at the type of customers that we work with, and part of our process is to meet with all of our customers annually.
Mhm.
I don't care how small or big they are. The repeated conclusion that I come to through conversation is they enjoy working with a fellow small business owner
Mhm.
who that they feel has their best interest top of mind,
Mhm.
number one. And then secondly, who has a staff who is very helpful, friendly, and will go outside the box when necessary to accommodate and advocate for that business.
Sure.
And that's a general statement, but I don't think you hear a lot of, when you're doing it in the context of technology, that's something I think that is unique and people really value.
Yeah.
Mhm. Right.
Let's jump over to some personal
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
What?
Let's jump right into the
Yeah,
person.
I think so. Let's just jam it in here.
That's right. Are you what motivates you? What's your drive?
Something gets you out of bed every day. What is it?
The alarm clock.
Yeah.
What
We
mo-
didn't say what annoys him every
I know,
day.
yeah, right.
Yeah. What motivates me is time.
Mhm.
I was I was born with a genetic disease called cystic fibrosis,
Mhm.
and when back in 1975, average life expectancy is 9 years old.
Oh, jeez.
Right, I'm 48 now. I know we all have clocks that are ticking,
Right.
Sure.
and I want to make the most of it
Mhm.
because I don't, you never know, and I just don't want to take it for granted. So I think what drives me is to make the best use of my time in whatever capacity that it is.
Mhm.
But I am aware that we don't need to be like screwing around.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Probably much more aware than the average person. We're the same age. So I when I think back on that, you're right. That's something, that we probably take for granted until people see that clock ticking down. Then they start thinking, oh, I really got to take advantage of this time. Well,
Yeah, and sometimes when that crisis happens, it's too late.
Yeah.
Exactly. So are you a early bird, night owl?
I'm an anytime bird.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we're training for triathlon right now.
Okay.
Monday's workout was at 6 a.m. Last night's workout was at 8:30 p.m.
All right.
You just got to get it in, man.
Yeah.
Right.
You just got to get it in.
Have you done many of those?
We've done a few, 4 sprint triathlons up in upstate New York. Very challenging course.
Oh.
So why upstate New York? And when you say we, who is we?
Yeah. So I was gonna say, you got a whole team. What, you got a team behind you?
We do. So upstate New York is my whole that Greek family I was telling you about is in upstate New York in Albany.
Okay.
So
yeah.
we go up to the mountains in the Adirondacks and do this thing. So
there's a lot of elevation change
in a very large lake.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, wow.
That's the swimming part of the triathlon.
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say, I can't imagine that's a super comfortable temperature either.
That's wetsuit temperature.
Yeah, right.
That's wetsuit. And when you ask, who it's also my wife Michelle. She
Okay.
trains with me, and we've done a couple marathons. We recently last year went over to Greece and
cool.
did the original marathon route
Oh,
from
wow.
Marathon to Athens.
Oh, that's
So-
cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That is, well, it's hard to beat. I mean, you got to hang them up after that, right?
No, no, you got to keep going.
We've done the original. Like there's no bar to reach beyond that.
Yeah, you spread the good word and you tell everybody that
Yeah.
this is definitely a bucket list thing.
Yeah,
Right.
well, I've got a father who runs marathons, and he doesn't anymore. He does more half marathons. He'll do like the Indy one here. But for years, his goal was Boston.
Yeah.
And he finally reached that because Boston's the only one you have to qualify for.
Right.
You have to have a qualification time. So he's searching around the country for like what are the easiest ones, flat ones, things like that.
Chicago.
Yeah,
Chicago's a good qualifier.
Yeah, he tried. He actually ended up eventually qualifying right here at Fort Bend.
Oh, yeah.
That was the one that qualified him for it. And he spent years waiting until he was in the right age bracket.
Yes.
Like, now I'm the young guy and so he worked that system in probably 6 or 7 years. That was a goal of his, and he had ran lots of marathons. He finally got into Boston. He did Boston. I think that's the last marathon he did. I think it was like that was the pinnacle. Now I'm just he runs still all the time, local running club, but it's not like, that was the single focus goal. And it was like, once he accomplished that goal, it was like, okay, that was my running goal. So now
he's on to something else.
Go on to something else.
So do you find that you learn something new about yourself each time you're training for one of these events?
Not during the training, but during the event.
Okay.
Yeah, because what happens is during the event, I mean, you're always looking to do your best, right?
Sure.
I mean, you can show up and say, I'm just going to do it. But, sometimes if you have a dog and you throw a ball out, the dog's going to chase the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Isn't that kind of how we all are? Or we hope to be?
Pavlov.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during the events, I think you definitely learn each time because there's always something new that's happening. There's always some level of adversity. Nothing always goes right, but it's how you respond, and it really builds and reinforces your belief system, and it also many times will humble you.
Yeah.
To say, you know what, you did it, but there's far more better ways of doing this, or you can be stronger. So and you really have to go through that experience. I think.
In
anything,
really testing your mental fortitude there, finding a way through the challenge, and yeah.
So I know you're a music guy. That's how we met, right?
Yeah,
So
it sure is.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What got started for you? I mean, where was your initial foray into music? Was it listening to Led Zeppelin or Yes or?
No, I wish it was that. I think my first, I think when you're listening to music, being a late 70s, early 80s kids, you're just listening to whatever's on the radio.
Yeah.
Whatever your parents are
right.
pumping through you. But for me, I remember fourth grade, you start out on the recorder or the flutophone.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right. And most people were like, this is horrible. To me, I'm like, well, this is interesting. I mean, I didn't have an affinity for the recorder, but I wasn't turned off by it. So I went into concert band. I played the baritone and the tuba, as a little guy.
Tuba, you're a little guy with a tuba.
Yeah.
Was it taller than you?
I sat on 3 stacks of books in 6th grade to
play it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was cool. But I think, I think we need markers and visions and things and examples. And the reality of it is my father was a championship accordion player. He would grab that accordion and just go crazy on it. Now, he had lessons from the ages of 4 to 15. So he was on TV. Like he was accomplished with it.
Oh, wow.
And there was no way I was ever going to play the tuba that way. Like, cause I was into sports and other things also. But as it progressed along, I ended up, when I was in college, I missed music. So I just bought a Yamaha keyboard. I taught myself to play the piano very poorly. Right. And this just kind of lingered for a couple decades. But throughout all this, my daughter, she is a musical theater major at Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois.
Wow.
So, and she's, she's doing great with that. But watching her go through the development of music and have private lessons and just the methodology of all this really came to an intersection to start this jamming was during COVID. We were down in Florida. I evacuated our family. That's a whole nother podcast. Right?
Yeah.
But I evacuated our family, and we had a guitar down there. And I started, Michelle, my wife, found me a guitar instructor. I started taking private lessons, and then I stuck with them like a religion. And then, so that was already like feeding that music need of mine. And then I ran into a customer, Dave Miller at Magnetic Instrumentation, and he was taking drum lessons at the Rock Garage, and he introduced me to the Rock Garage. I went over there that night. Within a month, he's got me started in a band, and the rest is history. It's just been a tremendous journey.
I've heard that story similar times from so many people,
Right?
Especially maybe it's a thing at our age where we're like, we gotta, so I gotta join something new, learn something new. Funny story about the recorder. Have I told you that before?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You were in the penalty box with the dunce cap on.
Yeah. What grade do you do the recorder? Maybe third or fourth grade?
Fourth for
yes.
Okay.
Indianapolis education.
So this was in Kokomo, and I didn't learn what I was supposed to learn on the recorder. Mm-hmm. So the night of the concert, what they would do, they would publicly shame you. I had to go up there with everybody else on the stage. It's the school concert. Everybody's there dressed nice. Had to go up onto the stage and just wear my recorder around my neck with like a little string on it around my neck. And I just stood there while everybody else played. And my parents just proudly said, yeah, that one's ours.
Yeah.
Right there. That type of public shaming would never happen. But I thought it was funny. To this day, my family laughs about it. But I mean, that would never happen.
How many other kids had the recorder?
Oh, maybe another kid. Like
one?
Yeah.
So there were two of you.
Our classroom of there's probably 18 kids, and maybe two of us just had to be shamed like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that was my music history. And what's funny is then when I years later bought a guitar, my mom was like, "You'll never play that. You'll never learn that." So I think I just learned out of spite, just to prove her wrong. Like, yeah, I will.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's right.
What if she would have challenged you that way with the recorder?
I probably would have learned it. How about TV? You watching TV, movies?
Well, you're probably training for your triathlons and don't have much time for TV, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always enjoy a good movie.
Okay.
But I don't really get into it. I want to. I'm not criticizing anybody that does. I mean, my God, the movie industry is huge, right? TV industry,
sure,
media.
yeah.
But I want to be busy doing stuff. So when I am watching TV, it's if I'm on the bike training,
sure,
and we'll just throw up a series or something like that.
Yeah,
but if it's interesting to ask that because now that our daughter Sarah is in college, you're like, what did you used to do? Right?
Yeah. And
I realized we used to watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't have anything to show for it that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
well, useless knowledge. That's why I like documentaries. It's like, well, at least it's something I can repeat somewhere down the road that's, makes me a little bit more knowledgeable about something. So.
Sure. And there's always, again, if there's always a good movie to see, of course.
Yeah. What movie has made an impact on you?
Oh man, that's a good question. Impact.
Or your favorite movie?
Yeah. Okay. Well, James Bond.
Okay.
Yeah, James Bond has really. I mean, it's embarrassing how much you attempt to portray some of your fictitious, people that you idol, so to speak. I mean,
yeah.
I've watched James Bond movies up, down, left, and right, and it's really inspired my international travel.
Oh,
really?
What's your favorite one?
And
and who's your favorite Bond?
Oh, well, yeah, Sean Connery.
Okay.
It's hard for me to say the favorite movie, but there's no doubt, with having the Greek family, and For Your Eyes Only, the Roger Moore one.
Yeah.
There's so much of Greece in there that, and Greece is timeless. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's nothing like having the passport, having the euros in the safe, having the American dollars in the safe, and just grabbing them out, put them in your pocket like you're going to go save the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is not even close to what's happening.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But for the pure fantasy entertainment of it all day long. I go
Yeah.
anywhere James Bond went.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you watch the 300, the Battle of Thermopylae?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was in Greece this past summer, we went to Thermopylae, the actual site.
Right.
Wow.
Absolutely.
What did you see there that inspired you or made you kind of go, wow.
Yeah. So I studied the battle a lot just because of my interest in it. And in fact, from a business standpoint, when I started the business back in 2002, it's Spartan Technology Services. So
right.
I'm really tied to it, and we're going to be rebranding back to it this year. But to answer your question, when you're actually there, because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere at this point, and this is 2,500 years ago. The land has changed a little bit. The waters receded. There's been landfalls. When you look at where only 300 guys from the Spartans, and you maybe had 700 other Greeks, but when you're standing there and you're fighting in this area against however many Persians it was, probably 10,000. I mean, Herodotus has written about this, but there's still questions, but it doesn't matter. They were entirely overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere. And to even, you didn't take your, Volkswagen to drive up there. You're marching up there. So it really is far away from Athens. Life, like, what were you doing back then? And that's, I think, some of the mystique and that so many of the military leaders have taken from the time is the amount of dedication and discipline and focus, and that this is what these guys lived for.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you see that, that's where they perished. And the hills right there, like they've done the excavations. There's arrowheads all over the place. And then, Thermopylae, if you translate it means the hot springs or the hot gates. And I said to myself, well, okay, where are these hot springs?
Right.
So I asked somebody like, oh, well, just a kilometer up onto the left. We drove up there, and sure enough, there was the hot springs, and they made a waterfall out of them. We stripped down, jumped right in.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
Oh, how cool.
Water was hot, It tasted like sulfur. So
it's super cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So do we want to go on to my favorite moment here? We got Mike for a couple more minutes here.
Is Kevin in the wings?
Yeah.
Is he in the green room?
Got him. He's in the green room, but you know what? You can't get out of here without going to my favorite segment here, which is
Spin the wheel.
Yes, spin the wheel. So what we like to do here is we've got a little magical, how do I add this? It's been a while. Add to stage.
Where do you see that?
You know what? Here we'll just go to the wheel here and we'll spin it. And this is could be anything random. You can turn around and look and see what we're going to get here. As you can see, there's a variety of topics here. Oh,
what do we get? Most embarrassing moment. There we go.
Embarrassing moment. So okay.
This is an exercise in transparency, Mike.
I used to pay a guy $160 an hour to figure this out for me.
Was this derobing at a toga party? Is that
no? The Greeks don't get embarrassed about that. Most embarrassing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, sporting moment or anything happen where you're just like, man, that's probably thinking about the ones you can't tell us right now, probably.
Yeah. Most embarrassing.
We forgot to tell you whatever a picture committed to answering.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's all right. We'll make up a story and put it in there.
You'll have to. It's not. I'm not normally embarrassed by things, but I probably try not to remember those things.
Okay. Well, that's
right,
perfect. That's perfect.
Can we spin again?
No.
That's it.
Thank you for joining us, Mike Semon, who is not embarrassed by anything in his entire history. So No, really. Thanks for joining us.
However,
and-
we did tell him
yeah.
his fly was down during this whole episode.
Yeah,
That's it. Well, you got to come back and see us again.
Absolutely.
Do this for sure.
yeah. Thank you for
Another time.
having me.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
All right.